Sam, here we are. Aries Ingress of the Sun, Canberra, 21st of March, coming up on Saturday. This is a snapshot of where the planets are over Australia at the moment of the Aries Ingress. We've got the Sun down here at 00 Aries 00, the moment that the Sun crosses over that cardinal point. And we have a cardinal sign rising, which means another busy year for us with these quarterly mundane predictions, if we can, stick to it. It was a bit hairy last time with the December ingress, the Capricorn ingress there, as it coincided with Christmas, with the terrorist attack at Bondi. There was like a lot of, communal collective noise that wasn't conducive to either of us sitting down and analysing a mundane chart, really. What do you see?
Well, I just wanted to say we were spot on the last ingress, the ingress that was prior to the terrorist attack, with that Mars that was showing up, that had to do with like religious activity, and it was framed under the, traditional terms under war. So that was kind of very sad that happened, but the astrology doesn't lie.
No, as above, so below.
Capricorn ruling the ascendant, and look at that Saturn.
That's Saturn right down there on the IC, yeah.
I mean, you really can't get in much more bad shape than that Saturn. So for me, I feel that this is talking about monetary tightening, pretty big time.
It's constrictive, isn't it? And it's really kind of like that downward position of Saturn is very inward looking. It's not kind of like, outward buying stuff, spending stuff, like enjoying the world. It's really like at home, in interior thinking. And it's at that dark point of the chart too. It's not a bright, sunshiny quarter ahead, that's for sure.
Yeah, so the first house is talking about the general public or Australia as a whole. And they're definitely, because Saturn's also ruling over that second house of like, stock markets and confidence in finances, and it's around rates and taxes and all that sort of stuff. It's showing that the public are starting to really are completely like losing confidence, the way that money's going, and are losing confidence in the way that the country's being run and their resources. So it's a pretty crappy ingress.
That's a technical term. That's fine. We can tell it how it is. That's the beauty of being working class Australian. You see it, you say it.
It really is. What makes it so bad, just so, for people who might not be completely knowledgeable about astrology, is Saturn's in its fall. It's under the beams of the sun, which means it's being harmed by the ruler. And it's also at the absolute bottom of the chart. So it is conjunct the IC. And so that does give it power as well. So it's, in a way, Saturn would be better if it was in the 12th house or somewhere else that we didn't have a lot of say over what's going to happen. But it is joined to an angle, which means that it is going to have a lot of an effect on the way the things kind of pan out.
Yeah, I think the proximity of Saturn to the IC, which is a point connected to the land, to people's homes, to real estate, I think that is a direct reflection, the position of Saturn, onto what people are experiencing with, the housing crisis, the, unable to find rental place to live, unable to afford to buy property. If you're lucky enough to have a mortgage, you don't have any spare cash because those interest rates just keep climbing. Like this sense of restriction and they're not being enough. And I think in the sign of Aries, there's like a lot of repressed rage about that. It's a really fundamental, like human right to have somewhere to live.
Mm.
And the Saturn is really like keyed into like the ability of the sun, to which, represents the prime minister as a proxy. So there's that indication. It's the overall feeling of the country. So we feel dark, we feel sad, we feel depressed, we feel constricted. And we don't like it. We don't like it at all. We don't want to feel like this. And, maybe we are looking for people to blame because the everyday person really didn't create the system as such. We voted for it. And I think perhaps Saturn's proximity to the IC speaks to that quiet power of what you do in the privacy of the ballot box. And I think for the government, that's probably not a good thing because Saturn has a very long memory.
Mm.
Aries, not so much, but yeah, I think you remember when you've been royally shafted by the system for a long, long time.
Yeah, no, that's a good point about it being in Aries, and that's why it hates being in Aries so much, because Saturn likes to make long-term plans. He doesn't necessarily like a lot of change, and so these feel like changes that are being made that aren't well thought out, trying to make changes and it just doesn't happen, you know?
Yeah, or
And
that we're being forced to react to a change that's imposed on us. I think like Saturn imposes those kind of heavy mechanisms and systems and things, and Aries kind of fights against it. There's not super much fight there if you
no.
like the ability to fight given the position of Mars there too. Like it's kind of everywhere you look, there's a bit of a dead end in this chart.
Yeah. I think it's important to also point out like Saturn is usually connected to, we talk about class structure. It's connected to outsiders or people who are at the lower end of the class structure. So, the homeless, the elderly, people who might, that need assistance and help. And it's showing that they are the ones here that are really paying. They're being looked over, they're being shafted, and it is because it is connected to housing, but it's also connected to, I think, because it is in the fourth house effectively, because it's within 5 degrees, and it is connected to the first house and the second house of like our finances. It's just showing that the housing prices getting absolutely out of control, food prices, agriculture, because it's connected to agriculture. This could potentially signify, because Saturn is a cold and dry planet and Aries is a hot and dry planet. It's not necessarily what you would call a fertile
No,
um,
it's the opposite.
configuration.
Yeah.
So that to me could be talking about weather events as well. So the saving grace there, which we could get to later, is that the moon and Venus are in the fourth house, and they are kind of, even though they're in Aries, they're kind of like moist, temperate planets. But yeah, Saturn there, it could kind of swing towards like difficult agricultural and weather events.
I wonder, yeah, bringing in those land-based concepts around agriculture as well, like mining as well, the Saturn being like
Mm.
underground and the dark places and that connection to resources, like beyond the idea of like the economic system. Australia earns like a lot of its GDP, a lot of money from exporting things that we dig out of the ground. And yeah, that I wonder, could that be linked somehow, or because it's represented by the same planet here? I don't know. Like
Oh,
if there's some kind
100%.
of connection there,
Yeah.
like if
And
they
I don't
tax
think we're
them
making much
properly.
money from it. I
Yeah,
don't think
exactly.
Because that, if you link that, Saturn is miners and mines. And the fourth house is also mines.
Yeah.
And, like minerals, the things we dig into the earth. And then if you connect that back to the second house, like we're not making much money from that. Like I actually heard someone talking about that recently about it's almost like we're almost giving away our minerals. So we're not accumulating wealth from all of this, and it is causing us a whole heap of trouble.
Cluster of planets in Aries, like, from the 0-degree sun to the 20-degree moon, like there's this a strong Aries signature at the moment, like collectively. And I mean, there's a war going on at the moment in the Middle East that I really hope we don't get dragged into. But like that idea of battle, of fighting, of like resisting is particularly resisting or reacting, I guess. And like it takes us to those extreme positions. And I think Saturn angular there is kind of part of that. Like we're all, with the protest movements that, periodically flare up in the city, like that is reactive. But there's also like, those quieter campaigns, those things going on behind the scenes and rumbling under the surface that, we can't see. But we can perhaps feel the fourth house cusp. That IC point is also like, in, I guess, psychological terms, a really intuitive point. So I think it's like interesting that the chart ruler Saturn is down there. Like we are, kind of ruminating on who we are and what we need, and we're looking for a security that we can't really find in that sign, like where the conditions that we're in aren't what we're looking for.
I think it's really interesting that like in with this chart, with mundane charts, you try and find the victor. And so that's the planet that has the most power over the chart. And that is definitely Mars. You were saying it's ruling over the sun.
Because it governs all those Aries planets.
Yeah, it's just like totally governing that. And it's even Mars is exalted in the sign of Capricorn. So again, this year, Mars is the victor. Saturn is still playing a big role, but that Mars in the right on the third house cusp with Rahu, or the North Node, and Mercury is definitely talking about what's already happening, which are talking about oil and transport, and just the way we get to and from our, like that, that's transport of goods. It's having the roads open. Is like, do we, because Mars also rules over oil, transport and
combustibles.
Yeah. So, and it's ruling that Saturn. And so I feel like this is talking about big problems that are ahead.
Yes, I could see that, because the media's been talking up. There is a lot of talk. So like sometimes, particularly that combination of Rahu, Mercury, and Mars together, it's like very, very mouthy. And on that third house cusp, like the media's kind of preempting this. And Saturn at home, the people at home in their homes, because of like this overconsumption. They say that a lot of the fuel stuff that they're like kind of beginning to talk about
Hoarding.
a lot in the media is due to kind of that greediness. And Rahu, of course, is the hungry dragon's head. People are
100%.
panic buying, as they say, stockpiling, like they're thinking ahead and they're like, taking it for themselves. But yeah, if that, that could definitely cause issues. And I think too, like with that third house cast, that amplification in the news cycle and social media and all the algorithms that feed us ideas is contributing to like the outcome. I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Ugly. Like, it feels like whatever's happening on the news, social media, the way we're talking to each other, the way we're talking about this situation is with Rahu is a very crazy shadow planet. Like he's connected to like whatever sign he is in, he's said to ruin that sign, right? So he ruins that.
He's a
And
charming
so,
character.
yeah, he's a demon.
Mm-hmm.
K2's got more of a spiritual kind of renunciate kind of aspect because he doesn't have the head, he doesn't have the ego, he doesn't have the big mouth, right? So he gives things up. Whereas Rahu is just like so hungry,
More,
hungry
more,
hippo,
more.
like gobbling it up and spewing it out poison,
Yeah.
right? Like, so that is just gross for me. Sorry if I'm just being like dramatic, but it is a really ugly configuration.
Yeah.
And especially, I think another part of that worries me is just because it's on the third house cusp, it talks about our neighbors as well.
Yes. Yeah.
So let's be like careful how we talk to each other.
Yeah, and that's like, how each of us talk to our own neighbor over the fence, but also collectively how we speak to our countries in the region and not sort of treading on toes or just being obnoxious. That to
Yeah.
me is it's like the guests that you just can't wait for them to leave. If that Rahu, Mercury, Mars was a combination, you'd be just like, oh, like, feed him and get him out the door. Like, just go.
And it's not just that it's like kind of nasty. It's like it's nasty because it's not real. You know what I mean? Like people are reacting.
Yes.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
like,
it's like a self-fulfilling cycle. And if you just hop off, you go, oh, that was
yeah, there
weird.
was no need for that.
Yeah.
Like, and that's that Mercury retrograde, fallen with Rahu as well. So there's just that whole configuration's got a lot of confusion. I also wonder if this might be about the military,
Mm.
and what we're doing in around our neighboring countries at the moment.
Like shipping lanes and things like that, and like communications equipment and infrastructure,
Mm,
listening, and maybe
yeah.
passing on information, or that our information isn't as secure as what we'd like it to be.
Yeah,
Mm.
so Rahu rules foreigners, like
Okay.
in
Yep.
like when because I'm learning all this stuff from like Jyotish, like Indian astrology. So it rules over foreigners, tribalism, illusion, where you're like too connected to material reality. You know what I mean? Like where you think that that's all there is, and unable to think of new solutions to what's going on with this, I guess, transport of goods, our, petrol getting from one place to another.
How about the
So,
aggressive use of AI, like an
yeah,
imaginary intelligence?
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So, and social media and like the
And, because AI does use up a lot of water,
mm,
so Mars is like burning up all of this kind of nice watery kind of Jupiterian kind of wisdom aspect and just kind
mm,
of and Rahu is connected to poison. So yeah, it definitely could be something around that too.
yeah,
Our
yeah.
waters.
Mm. I'm just trying to make a connection. Like, this is what we do when we look at a mundane chart, is it's about making the connections between the planetary symbolism and real life events, some ways of thinking, ways of reacting, commodities and places, weather, resources, and just sort of, making those connections. So the connections that Sam and I make, might like ping connections that you make in your own mind through us talking through the symbolism of the chart. Now, you brought in the trine from Mars at 14 degrees Pisces to that Jupiter over in the sixth house in Cancer. Jupiter is kind of the good guy of the chart. It's the planet with by far the most dignity, and he's not too far off the angle. He is in the sixth house, which is related to the working class, relating to soldiers and nurses and teachers and cleaners and, people that do a lot of the unsung grunt work in our economy. Unpaid workers too, probably, like people that stay at home and, keep an eye on the street, look after the elderly in the area and take the kids to school, like all that kind of like work, those obligations we have to each other, is there in the sixth house. It's also connected to health. And I think it's a little bit interesting that Gemini's on the cusp there, which is ruled by that Mercury, which is pretty close. It's stationing direct, so it's approaching that Mars, although maybe it won't catch up because he's moving so slowly. And like it just feels like there's an excess of responsibility from the Jupiter. Like we love to do that work. We want to do that work and contribute to society and share the load in and participate and have those community connections of a functioning society. But everything is a lot right now. We're being asked to do a lot, to think about a lot, and to care a lot. And it's a lot. And I think our mental state is perhaps just suffering by the influx of information. A lot of it's unfiltered because of that Rahu connection there. Like it's just there's so much coming in, so much to process. Doing the jobs, I guess, like a good caring Jupiter in Cancer might probably helps process some of that energy, but I just wonder how long that can go on for before even Jupiter kind of has its fill.
I really am thankful for this Jupiter.
Yeah.
Because, he is ruling over all of those planets in Pisces, and he's also in a nice trine. He is very much tempering the worst of this. So he's definitely chilling that out. And the way he's doing that is the sixth house, I think, because I'm seeing this as, fighting misinformation, fighting for resources like transport issues and communications issues, could even be postal issues. Jupiter in the sixth house is connected to, hospitals, but it's also connected to food supply chains. So that was interesting for me. I actually wasn't aware before that sixth house in Mundane was food stores and storage of grains.
Yeah.
So I was like,
connected to that overlay with Virgo in a way.
Yeah. And Jupiter is in the sign of Cancer, which is about, the mother nurturing, enough food in your belly, kind of things like that. So this is like saying, and it's also in the sixth house is also food support, food supply systems, even like things like Centrelink benefits and stuff like that, like looking after people who kind of can't completely, survive with what's going on. I love Jupiter in Cancer is a real socialist energy. He really is like, okay, like it's fair to take care of everyone. And so this is like someone coming in and kind of making all of this a bit better. So that's important to remember, because maybe what we're listening to, yes, we are dealing with issues with petrol and with oil, and which is going to affect transport and is going to affect all of these things. But a great social security system, and we've got a lot of systems set up, charitable organizations and things like that are going to like help people. And that is the benefit of, living in Australia if you compare to the rest of the world.
I wonder
Yeah,
if
that's
the connection between, like, if we do see Mars as fuel and Jupiter as perhaps like a government subsidy or some kind of social support, maybe there's some government intervention to keep, like, food supplies, well, like fuel flowing to farmers and transportation companies, and then getting it back to the supermarkets so we can all access the wonderful produce that we grow here. Like,
yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Because that is the problem, is the transport of the diesel and the fuel. Farmers can be seen as Saturn because they rule over agriculture, but and they're being ruled over, they're by this Mars, right?
Yeah.
But Mars is, so this could be, someone coming in, some like ally, or maybe we do have some connections that are going to come in and top us up with fuel or keep us running, keep the farmers running. So yeah, this just, to me, just overall is just like everyone needs to take a chill pill, and especially just don't cause.
It's the situation is definitely challenging. Like, not many of those. Jupiter's really the only planet that's got any like excess agency to share around and be benevolent. I'm looking at the moon and the sun. They've got like a little bit of dignity, but not heaps. Like, so I think that idea, like, if we take like Jupiter in Cancer and those feminine planets in Aries in the fourth house there, that kind of, to me, kind of work points you back to, well, we have enough. Like, it's like, I don't know, as my housewife self, like, you fling open the pantry, you don't know what you got, but you can make something from what you've got. Like, it might not be the, 5-course banquet, fit for the queen, but you've got enough to feed your family, you've got enough to share with your people, and having those basic needs met, for emotional security, ensuring that you do have somewhere to sleep, that you do have like enough to eat, is really important. And yeah, we're on the edge of that. And there's a bit of a separating square between the moon and Venus and Jupiter as well. So we are being tested. The moon's gonna like square the ascendant as well.
I think
Descendant
if you
axis.
yeah, I think so. That moon, it's peregrine. It hasn't got a lot of power. I mean, its last aspect was to Venus, which, Venus is the benefic of the sect here, and the moon is the sect light. So these planets are important, and they are angular.
Yeah.
So they are talking about, it's not like devastatingly bad.
It's not
like
great,
this,
but it's not diabolical.
yeah, like this is really saving our butt a bit. And that Venus, which is the Prime Minister.
Yes, because it's the ruler of the 10th house.
But I actually wonder as well, I have thought this, and this is a little bit scary to me. Pauline Hanson.
Oh my gosh. Oranga. The redhead woman.
The redhead. Opposition.
Wow. Oh, that is
Because
a fascinating concept, particularly with that change in the leadership of the Liberals and the Nationals. There's been like a bit of a so the shuffling of the deck chairs on the Titanic, but yeah, Venus won't go down without a fight for sure. But I mean, the moon is moving away from the Venus towards the descendant.
It is, because they have risen in popularity, even though they are popular with the people, because it's the moon and Venus. their policies are not well thought out,
No,
right?
that's the planet in a
That's
sign where it doesn't have any
yeah.
dignity. Like it's just fumbling
And also,
around.
and so even the Sun, who is our current Prime Minister, which
Yes.
is Albanese, he is definitely, along with Jupiter, the most benefic here
Yeah,
in
yeah.
this chart.
Because the
So
sun's exalted in Aries. So yeah, he's in the seat by
despite what people are
default.
saying,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, he is in a
So
cadent house too, so he's not having the time of his life. But
no,
he's
I
still in the
really
chair.
don't think he doesn't like what he's having to do. Like,
Oh God, no. Well, pretty much
who
everybody just
knows
is
what's going
holding
on?
their nose so they don't smell too much Trump.
We are definitely going to be in for some supply issues with this. And I think it'll be interesting to watch the housing market and also what's going on with mining and the selling of our resources
Mm,
to fund war, because Mars really does rule over war
yeah.
or conflict, let's say.
Yes, competition, conflict. Like, yeah,
Mm,
it's a bit cutthroat, old Mars. Hmm. I thought it
big.
was interesting that the sun ruled the eighth house. So that idea of, I don't know, the government's been putting out some ideas about their May budget and testing things and sort of, talking a bit of around the capital gains tax discount.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
and intergenerational equality and things like that seems to have gained traction. Um, and so I think bringing in that eighth house symbolism, we might see some leadership on taxation, superannuation, those subsidized investments, which we also touched on with mining as well, and how things are taxed inequitably at the moment on people's incomes, which is that second house.
Mm.
It just is, our economic system is out of balance at the moment, or our taxation system. I actually wonder, because of that talk about intergenerational equality, that's making me look at the Saturn in a new light and the idea that the people that have accumulated their wealth aren't contributing to society. I'm thinking, like, people that have retired and accumulated investment properties with all the sweet concessions of, past policy. And now there's kind of, workers and younger generation is really being squeezed to the point where they can't even, rent a house. Really out
Jupiter
of balance.
generally rules over the elite,
Mm-hmm.
as in so the ones with all the money, and there's definitely showing here, like they've definitely got a lot of money, and they've taken a big grab for that money. So yeah, it definitely could be, and the sun is applying to a square with Jupiter, so that'll be interesting to see what happens then, and maybe also some of this talk. I don't know what are One Nation's policies or around distribution of wealth. Like that'd be interesting to know.
I am not sure they would have answers to.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But
Um,
I guess people should ask, really, shouldn't they? The
mm,
media should ask instead of, feeding into the energy scarcity
it
issue.
doesn't look great, to be honest, with that square. Um,
No. Yeah, things are tense. I think that whole, like, there's quite a few squares in the chart. Even the moon, once it sort of changes sign, it's void of course and fast. Like, it just kind of like, well, what do we do? Like, as a collective, ordinary, like the collective of ordinary Australians, what do we do? And we're gonna like butt into that Pluto,
well,
before.
Jupiter, I was writing down here, Jupiter will reach the descendant
Mm-hmm.
year point around the 1st of June. So that'll be interesting.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, I wonder when they put the budget. The budget's in May, so maybe that'll be like around the kind of, reaction to to that.
Yeah, so that could be. I just kind of noted it in my calendar for something to watch, because that's when it'll be reaching that point, which, because it's a little bit hidden here,
Mm,
it is about like all the things we talked about, the sixth house is about, and then it's going to become quite visible. Um,
yeah, hopefully in a good way. Let's wrap it up.
I think the last thing I just wanted to say, unless you wanted to, did
Yeah, no,
you have
go.
some more to talk about
No,
with the
I'm done.
chart?
I'm
Or,
at the end.
yeah. Um, I just wanted to point out when I was doing some research into the Aries Ingress, and I was kind of looking at whether there are any points in history that carried similar kind of
Oh,
energy or
yes. Yeah, you were
points.
telling me, so you found some interesting stuff.
Yeah, the Russian Republic chart, which was around, let me see, 12th of June, 1990. It's the Russian sovereignty chart. So when they kind of started emerging from the USSR and started being able to choose their own, decided they were going to be able to vote on their president. So that's when that happened, and it's really, really strange when I looked at it, because basically the Jupiter in that chart, in the sovereignty Russian sovereignty chart, is exactly the same down to the minute
Wow.
of this chart. The Saturn of their chart is right on the ascendant, and their Mars is right on the IC. So this really started like pinging for me,
Yeah.
because
And
this is,
yeah, we had a supply shock of oil when Russia invaded Ukraine. So there's like that connection there. I'm also thinking, wasn't that like 23-ish Capricorn, like around the great toilet paper fight of 2020?
oh,
So
yeah, we
we've
should
got
look
this
at that.
idea of like, supply issues of critical products. Um,
Yeah, because it's hitting all the angles, it's hitting
yeah.
the angles, and whenever there is a big change in a political system like that, there is a lot of fear.
Mm-hmm.
Like there obviously would have been like joy over that because they're coming out of communism, but there also would have been a lot of like, what the hell now?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how are things going to happen? It could potentially talk about, maybe because of the points it's hitting, Russia's interest in our minerals, because it's so strongly Mars in Aries on the fourth house cusp, and
Right.
that's Saturn. So Mars is it could be military. I mean, I'm not sure yet, but it's going to be interesting to
It seems
see
like
if
covert.
it.
If it's like Mars in the fourth
Mm.
house, that's not like anything visible. I mean, because I assume
Well,
they're not going to wage a
Jupiter
land invasion. Um, but what about like
Jupiter does
cyber?
rule over the 12th house,
Yeah, what
so
about
that
cyber
Jupiter.
attacks? Just given that
Mm.
the ruler of Australia's fourth house cusp in this Ingress chart is ruled by that Mars at just inside the third house. And I think I think that was a couple of weeks ago, a hospital or a health provider of some kind in America was cyber attacked by Iran, and there's alignments between not alignments, but like agreements between Iran and Russia. Um, yeah, cyber
Yeah, it'll
activity.
be interesting. I think it could be secret deals or something like that, just because we've got Jupiter, which is secret enemies or like spies.
Mm,
Um, and that Jupiter is within the minute, like that's pretty uncanny. And
yeah.
then we've got the rulers of the way we make money,
Mm.
and over agriculture, homeland, and mining
Yeah, I'm just thinking like,
resources.
so the country to watch with that as a background influence or an influential, like, while everybody's watching what's going on in Iran, that the Russian state will be capitalizing on this time in this quarter, not specifically just for Australia, because these planetary placements are like across the world, like different sign emphasis, different house emphasis and different rising degrees and things. But
It'd be interesting to look at theirs.
Yeah, that's a research project.
Yeah, it starts to spiral.
Yeah, well, these are the rabbit holes, aren't they? That you can go down, and it is really interesting. There is plenty to chew on there, Sam. We'll watch what unfolds, what we see and what we don't see, because sometimes what doesn't happen is just as interesting as what does. So thank you very much for sharing your wisdom as always. And I guess we'll be back next quarter for the Cancer Ingress. Given we've got a cardinal rising, we're kind of morally obliged, but it does make for a lot of serious conversation, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's I find it interesting to look at what we're going to expect. It helps with planning, let's say.
Yeah, managing one's expectations.
It doesn't, it just, this is talking about big picture stuff.
Yeah.
And it is, which will affect us.
Absolutely, it does.
But yeah, there's always wiggle room.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining me. And I hope everybody's enjoyed the insights that Sam and I have shared today on the Aries Ingress of the Sun in Canberra in 2026.